1.
Hi, this is Mr. Moss, and in this video we're going to take a look at the steps involved in long division. We're going to be comparing this strategy to some other strategies that we've been working on, the partial quotients division and the distributive property for division. And so I want to start off looking at both of those two earlier strategies to see how they're different from long division, because each strategy offers different advantages to students depending on their style of thinking about numbers. So the first one we're going to look at is partial quotients. And when it comes to partial quotients, remember that it's all about deciding how you want to tackle a particular problem. Let's take a look, for example, at 3 into 682, or 682 divided by 3. I have to ask myself, okay, what can I pull out of 682? I could pull out 300. I know that I can easily divide 300 divided by 3. That's 100. And that leaves me now with 300. That leaves me with 382. So now I have to ask myself again, what can I pull out of 382 that's still divisible by 3? So I could pull out another 300. And I know that 3 goes into 300, once again, 100 times. And that now leaves me with 82. So what can I do now with my 82? I can pull 60 out of that. 3 goes into 60 20 times. And that's going to leave me now with 22. What can I pull out of 22 that's divisible by 3? I could pull out 21. 21 is divisible by 3 because I know that I can put 3 into 21 7 times. And that leaves me with 1 left over. I can't put 3 into 1, so that's how I know that that's my remainder. And if I add it up, 100, 200, 220, 227. But it's not just 227, it's 227 with a remainder of 1. But this isn't the only way to do partial quotients. I can divide it up however I want. It's all about finding ways that it makes sense for me. So let me again draw out this problem. 3 into 682. Let's say I'm somebody else, another student. I'm the same student. I'm trying it a different day, whichever. And I have to decide, okay, what can I pull out of 682 that's still divisible by 3? Well, maybe this time I'm going to realize that I can pull out 600 all at once. 3 goes into 600 200 times. All right? And that leaves me now with 82. And from 82, I can pull out 60. Maybe the rest of this, let's say, is going to be the same as how we did the problem previously. I'm left with 22. I can pull out 21. 21 goes in. 3 goes into 21 7 times with the remainder of 1. So this is pretty much getting me the same answer. In fact, 200, 220, 227 with the remainder of 1. The only difference here is I've divided it up in different ways. Here I took out 300 and then 300. Here I took out 600 all at once. And of course, I could have taken out different amounts here. Here I took out 60, but I could have taken out 66. I could have taken out anything that's divisible by 3, whatever makes sense for me in my mind. But the important piece here is the idea that this gives me choice. As somebody completing this, I can choose how I want to attack this particular problem, how I want to solve that problem. And for a lot of kids, that makes a lot of sense. Similarly here, I have 64 divided by 4. Now I'm using the distributive property for division. So let's tackle this one. Let's say I have 64 divided by 4. I'm going to decompose 64. And I'm going to get 40 and 24 because those are a lot easier for me to be able to work with. I can divide each of those by 4 a little bit more easily. I know that 40 divided by 4 equals 10. I know that 24 divided by 4 equals 6. And now all I have to do is put both of those partial quotients together, 10 and 6, and that gives me 16. But again, that's not the only way that I can divide that. I could write it again, 64 divided by 4. I should always have my equals sign here. And let's find another way that I can decompose this. Maybe this time I'm going to decompose 64 and get 44 and 20. And I'm going to go through all the same steps here, though. 44 divided by 4 is 11, and 20 divided by 4 equals 5. 11 and 5 together gives me 16. So again, both of these give me the exact same answer. They're both going to give me the right answer, and I again have some choice of how I'm going to solve it. What makes the most sense for me using, in this case, the distributive property, which is really the same as partial quotients. It's just visualizing it in a different way. Long division, though, is a little bit different. In long division, there's one set process that you have to go through, and they should all look the same. So if I'm doing long division with students in my class, every single student's paper should look identical to every other student's paper. There's one right way to do it. There's one series of steps that we'll go through in just a moment, and that's good for a lot of kids. A lot of kids like to say, okay, tell me the right series of steps to go through, the right numbers to use, and that's going to help me to find the correct answer. So let's take a look at this one. I'm going to pull up the same problem that we used earlier. We did 3 into 682. So let's take a look at how we can use these steps right here in order to solve this. The first step is always to divide. 3 goes into 6 2 times. We're only looking at this first place value. In fact, I could cover that up for the time being and just go through my problem. So I've already divided. Now my next step here is to multiply. So when I multiply, I like to give students a reminder of what they're multiplying. So I put a little multiplication sign up here in the corner, and I draw this curved arrow to remind them that they're multiplying what's up top by the divisor. So in this case, 2 times 3. 2 times 3 equals 6. So I've done my multiplication. Now my next step is that I'm going to subtract. 6 minus 6. 6 minus 6 equals 0. Now, if you're watching other videos online, or if you're working with other folks, they might leave out this step of checking. And I'll explain what this is for in a moment, but I have to just check to see, can 3 fit into 0? If I can't divide 0 by 3, then I'm good to continue. If I can, that tells me that I've made a mistake, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But it's really important to remember to include that step to check over your work. The next is to bring down. So let's go, and I'm going to lift up my hand here. We have more digits. I'm not done. Certainly, if this was the whole problem, I could use long division to solve 6 divided by 3. It goes in 2 times. But we've got more place values here. So I'm going to bring down now my 8. So now I'm going to go back. I've brought it down. And this is the step where now my cycle restarts. So let's go back to the very beginning again. My first step is division. So 3 into, now I'm looking down here, 3 into 8. 3 goes into 8 2 times. And now my next step is I'm going to multiply. 2, I'm just using the digit that I just put up here. I'm not doing 22 times 3. Just doing 2 times 3 equals 6. All right. Now my next step is to subtract. So 8 minus 6 equals 2. And again, I need to check. I'll explain why in a moment. So can 3 fit into 2? If the answer is no, I'm good. But if, in fact, I find that it can, that tells me that I've made a mistake. So now my next step, now that I've checked it, is to bring down my next place value. So now I have 22. We're going right back. We brought down. We're going to go back to the beginning to divide. 3 into 22. How many times does 3 go into 22? Goes in 7 times. And I know that because, now I'm on to my multiplication, 7 times 3 equals 21. Now from multiplication, I'm going on to subtraction here. So I'm going to subtract 22 minus 21, and we know that that's going to leave me with 1 left over. And I have to check 3 into 1. Can I fit 3 into 1? No, I can't. So I'm going to bring down, oh, but look, I'm out of place values. There's nothing else for me to bring down to further divide this. So that means that I am done, and that's my remainder. That my quotient is 227 with a remainder of 1. So I'm just going to add that up here. Remainder of 1. And the last step is to just ask yourself, does my answer make sense? Is my answer reasonable? So I can sit here and think, okay, well, let's round 227 down to 200. 200 times 3 equals 600. And boy, 27, well, let's round that to like 25 maybe. 25 times 3, that's 75. So 225 times 3 is 675. That's pretty close to 682. So my answer is reasonable. And those are the steps that we go through. A good way to remember this, because I know the steps divide, multiply, subtract, check, bring down, and ask that question, can be quite a bit to remember. So the way that I encourage kids to remember it is to ask themselves, does, oh, my pen's dying out here. Does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers? And of course, that means that we're ending that thought with a question mark. And so that just helps kids to remember those steps. If they remember, does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers, they'll remember DMSCB, and of course that question at the end. I want to show you, though, why it's important to have that check step. So I'm going to do this problem again. And this time, I'm going to do it in pencil because I'm going to make a mistake. So here's my same problem. 3 into 682. 3 goes into 6 2 times. 2 times 3 equals 6. 6 minus 6 equals 0. Can 3 go into 0? No, so I'm going to bring down. Okay, 8. So now I'm going to do 3 goes into 8. Let's say I make a mistake here and I say that it goes in 1 time. We know that it goes in 2 times, but let's say I'm making that mistake. 3 goes into 8 only 1 time. Well, let's go through this now. I've divided. 3 divided by 8 equals 1. That's my division, even though I made a mistake. So now I'm going to multiply. 1 times 3 equals 3. And I'm going to subtract that now. 8 minus 3 is 5. So now we check. Can 3 go into 5? Wait, yes, it can. I can certainly fit 3 into 5. If kids need a way to visualize that, can 3 cars fit into 5 parking spots? Of course 3 cars can fit into 5 spots. I can put 3 into 5, and that's telling me I made a mistake. If the answer is yes, I need to stop, and I need to go and check. And if I go back and I look, hold on, I had 3 into 8. 3 goes into 8. Well, 1 time would be 3. 2 times would be 6. Oh, I can fit it in 2 times. And it's telling me that I need to change what I did there. 3 goes into 8 2 times. 2 times 3 equals, oh, I'm sorry, I'm erasing the wrong one. 2 times 3 equals 6. 8 minus 6 equals 2. Can I fit 3 into 2? No, I can't. That's telling me now I've got it correct. 3 can't go into 2, so now I need to bring down my 2. 3 goes into 22 7 times. And you know, let's say I made another mistake here. Let's say I said it only went in, let's say I said that it went in 8 times. Let's make the mistake the other direction. 8 times 3 is 24. 22 minus 24, I can't even do that, can I? I'm going to end up with negative 2. That's not going to work. And so that 2 is telling me that I've made a mistake. It goes in 7 times. 7 times 3 equals 21 with the remainder of 1 here. So that check step right here is really important. I'm going to go through one last example, and that's just a practice one. I'm not going to introduce anything new. So if you've got it at this point, you certainly can stop the video now. But if you want to try along with me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause for a moment after each step. I'd encourage you to have a sheet of paper out to try this along with me. You can even pause the video after each step. So here's the problem that we're going to solve here. Let's do 4 into 681. All right, so copy that down, and I'm going to again put my letters over here. Actually, I'm just going to use the symbols. Divide multiply, subtract, check, bring down. These steps repeat. And then lastly, I need to ask myself if my answer is reasonable at the end. All right, so you're ready to go? Pause the video here if you need an extra second to get ready. Your paper should look like mine. All right, so step one, we divide. Go ahead and do your division first. Pause the video if you need a little bit of extra time. All right, so 4 goes into 6. I know 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. That's too big, so it only goes in one time. All right. Next step, I'm going to multiply. Do your multiplication now. Like I said, you can pause the video if you need a little more time here. 1 times 4 equals 4. What's my next step? Please do the next step. Yeah, I'm going to subtract now. 6 minus 4 equals 2. What do I need to do next? I hope you didn't bring it down yet. Remember, we just subtracted. We need to check this. Can 4 go into 2? Can I fit 4 cars into 2 parking spots? No, I sure can't. So now I'm going to bring down my next place value. In this case, the tens place. I'm bringing down that 8. And now the cycle restarts. Please do the next step. Four goes into 28. How many times? 7. And I know that because now it's time for me to go and multiply. I hope that you didn't do 17 times 4. We're just looking at the place value that we're working on. 7 times 4 equals 28. Next, I'm going to subtract. 28 minus 28 equals 0. Don't forget to check. 4. Can 4 go into 0? No way. Can 4 cars fit into 0 parking spots? Not a chance. So now that I've checked, now I'm going to bring down my next place value. Time to divide. 4 goes into 1. Oh, you may notice I can't even do this. Are we at a remainder yet? Not yet. We still need to fill that in because the answer is not 17 with a remainder of 1. And that's a common mistake students might make. We've got 170. So I've divided. 4 goes into 1 0 times. And now I'm going to multiply. 0 times 4 equals 0. Time to subtract. 1 minus 0 equals 1. Can 4 go into 1? I'm checking now. Nope. Is there anything else for me to bring down? No. So that tells me that my answer is 170, but let's not forget that I still have my 1 here. Let's get a pen that works. I've still got that 1 left over, so it's 170 with the remainder of 1. We're not done, though. We have to remember to ask ourselves, does my answer make sense? Well, let's see, 170, that's kind of close to 200. I could round that up to the nearest 100. So 200 times 4 is 800. That's a little bit higher than 681. But maybe I can just break this up. 100 times 4 is 400. 70 times 4 is 280. And if I just draw this out, I've got 400. 70 times 4 is 280. 400 plus 280 is 680. That's showing me that my answer of 170 is definitely reasonable because look, 680, 681, there's my 1 difference right there. Shows me that my answer is reasonable. This has been Mr. Moss working with you on the steps for long division. And again, long division works well for a lot of kids because it gives them a series of precise steps that they should go through in order to get the exact answer. Anyone doing 681 divided by 4 should have a sheet that looks like this using these digits. Anyone doing 682 divided by 3, your page should look just like this with these digits. You don't have the choice that you have with the distributive property or that you have with partial quotients. For some kids, that's a detriment, but for some kids, that's an advantage. I hope this was a helpful guide for you. Have a great day.